Thank you all so very much.
Can you tell parents that? You know what to do to lower gasoline prices? You can talk about worker safety, of course.
Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
I will eat your ass.
Welcome to the show. Hey, it's my sidebar's up. All right. Hey, we are getting off to a fantastic start already.
There's insanity in the control room.
Welcome to the show. It's Wednesday. We got a great show for y'all today. Fun stuff all around. We got ridiculous MAGA people. Nancy Pelosi also making people very angry. She's good at that. And not in the positive way. See, I like it when she makes right-wingers angry, but she's making the left angry today. So I'm going to talk about that. Fun stories, except for that one. Of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're talking about her. We got Charlie Kirk getting clowned. That's always fun. And, of course, more MAGA rioter news. All around, pretty good show. I've got planned for you lots of video clips to watch, along with my commentary. Hey, TYT, thank you for the raid of 214. Appreciate that. Coming from Indisputable. Thank you so much. Thank you for the raid over on Twitch. Much appreciation to you over there. Doing good stuff on the TYT Twitch channel. Indisputable raid. Hey, thank you for the Indisputable viewers from YouTube also coming over. Wonderful. Wonderful. So love to see you all here in the chat. Have fun, pull up a seat, and we're going to start the show. Be a lot of fun. Before you do, please like and share if you haven't already. Let's get to the stories. And you probably heard the old adage, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Well, this is an example of how that advice can go horribly wrong. So now this is accused Capitol rioter Brandon Fellows, who decided against the advice of the court to represent himself. And you can probably guess correctly how well that went. In fact, the story is headlined, Capitol rioter admits to 2 new felonies while representing himself in a bond hearing. So this is Washington TV station WUSA 9, who detailed their Fellows' really, really bad day in court. So now, first, some information here. Fellows is an Albany, New York resident under indictment on a felony charge of obstructing an official proceeding in connection with the January 6th riot. In charging documents, prosecutors say Fellows entered the Capitol through a broken window and somehow ended up smoking pot in Senator Jeff Merkley's office. Okay. Yeah. Really fighting for Trump there. Seriously? Now, Fellows was initially granted pretrial release, but was ordered back into custody in June after repeated violations, including missing a court-ordered mental health evaluation and allegedly calling a probation officer's mother. This guy, oh no, it gets better. It gets better. Now, the Justice Department also said when a clerk of the court attempted to contact Fellows about another violation, allegations that he was harassing a former girlfriend, not cool, it was discovered that he had apparently put the number for the judge's wife's office instead of his own. Total troll. Total troll. More. Last month, Fellows asked McFadden to allow him to represent himself pro se in this case, saying he had spent the previous 2 weeks in the DC's jail's law library and determined that that was what he wanted, despite warning him repeatedly the possible consequences of going it alone. With no formal law training, McFadden ultimately granted Fellows' request. In fact, District Judge Trevor McFadden told Fellows, quote, "Most people do not do this. Obviously, an attorney has discouraged this. I do not think this is a good idea, but I'm going to allow you to take the stand if you wish." To which, at that point, he then calmly pulled out a bucket of popcorn to watch this guy self-immolate. The caucasity of this situation. No, and the reason I say that is it's pretty obvious. The guy's 100% trolling the court. 100%. No, he thinks like, oh yeah, I'm going to show the court who's smart. Yeah, that's right. I don't need no stinking law degree. I'm white and right-wing. Yeah, I'm gonna triumph over you bunch of nerds. Well, he said, I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna show him. And oh, he did. He showed them all right. Because what ensued, according to the report, was about 2 hours worth of rambling by Fellows across a difficult to follow litany of complaints about his incarceration, and then stopping to touch on different subjects like the Taliban, because that's relevant. Guantanamo Bay, hey, close Gitmo. We should have closed it years and years and years. It never should have had it open in the first place. I mean, literally, if he's going to, and I don't know what his argument is. Probably like, oh, we should throw all the libs in Gitmo. No, but seriously, on a serious note, there were people in Guantanamo Bay that didn't do anything and that were still held by the Bush and Obama administrations. And so, look, if he had brought that up, maybe he would have made a decent point, something that I would agree with. But nonetheless, I don't think that he did. He also brought up a woman who had left her child in a dumpster and a constitutional lawyer who had allegedly advised him to wrap his cell phone in tinfoil. Now, obviously, that didn't seem to work out, the whole tinfoil thing. So why didn't he just, why did he stop at tinfoiling his own cell phone? Why not tinfoil his head, make a little hat out of it? Or, and look, tinfoil hat, I mean, obviously, you got to protect the head, Or else because that's how the Marxists, they come in, they steal your thoughts, and then make you a gay communist hippie. I'm sorry, gay trans communist hippie. So, you got to protect your head against that, obviously. And then, why not just go the full thing and just wrap your entire body in tinfoil? Just to be safe. Just to be safe. The best people, the greatest people. It is amazing to think, and also kind of sad, really, that this is the best Trump could get. This is the best the right wing has to offer. And better than that, these people all think, we're the patriots, we're the real, we're smarter than the courts, we're smarter than the government, we're smarter and we're more patriotic, we're the heroes, greatest people. No, in reality, of course, they're the dumbest people on the planet. They go in to try to stop an election that's already over. Without the famous clue, that's not how the elections or the Constitution actually work. They do it on behalf of a serial grifter clown autocrat wannabe who did not get enough love from daddy. And when they get caught, they fail to realize that there are any sort of consequences at all. So now the problem, of course, is that, to be fair, the consequences for these people have been rather light. So I guess it makes sense that some of them end up thinking that the entire thing is a joke, and then they treat it like a joke. Now, I don't know if this one is going to end up like that, but I have talked about cases where people, who have done felonies, pled down to misdemeanors, and would get a total of 3 weeks in jail for assaulting police officers during the Capitol siege. So, I guess if the sentences they're handing out are going to be a joke, you might as well just treat it all like a joke, which I guess this is what this guy's doing. That said, I don't know how well this one's going to end up because, he's representing himself. In fact, according to one exchange, McFadden said this: "You are charged with a federal felony. This is not a community college where you get pats on the back. You've admitted to incredible lapses of judgment here on the stand, not least of which was seeking to disqualify a New York State judge. You've admitted to obstruction of justice in that case, and you've admitted to what was probably obstruction in this case in trying to have me disqualified, and only Ms. Halverson's advice stopped you from doing so. You've engaged in a pattern of behaviors that shows contempt for the criminal justice system, and I just have no confidence that you will follow my orders if I release you." McFadden then denies Fellow's request to reopen his detention status and ordered him back into custody to D.C. jail. So this was just a bond hearing. Not even the actual dealing with his crimes. So, oops. Sad. That said, I guess that 2-week crash course study in the law didn't do you any good at all at the end of the day. Now, I have the suspicion, of course, as I mentioned, that this clown's not going to get punished as he should for being part of the Capitol riot. The only reason that I think he's been so cavalier about the entire thing is that he knows how the justice system works. Oh, I'm white. Of course I'm white. I got right-wing privilege. Yeah, I can go in, I can do whatever I want. I can go smoke pot in Jeff Merkley's office. Which, okay. He knows that he's got privilege, so he knows the judges are always going to go easy on him because he has that privilege. Imagine a black guy went in there and smoked pot in Merkley's office, right? Or did anything, climb through a window, break windows, whatever, right? Oh, right, there was one black guy and immediately denied pretrial release. Just one. And they are probably going to throw the book at him. Maybe, I don't know. I keep hoping that they'll prove me wrong and actually have some real sentences doled out for these people. But again, as I pointed out, many, many cases were nothing more than ended up with a slap on the wrist for people who were really only sorry about getting caught. They weren't sorry about doing what they did, being part of this attempted insurrection. So, I don't know. I would like to have a tiny little bit of hope that this chud just went and pissed off the wrong judge so much that they decide to take him, seriously. But I don't know. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see. All right. More. Let's do it. Let's go to some more serious stuff on the reconciliation bill. All right. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was recently giving a press conference about the Build Back Better program. Now, unfortunately, it's not to report that there was good news about this. No, it's about how they're going to cut the bill. So, in a letter to House Democrats on Monday, Pelosi said that it is essential that difficult decisions must be made very soon, and that members have overwhelmingly said that they prefer to do fewer things well so that we can still have a transformative impact on families. So, of course, all that's Washington BS speak to, basically saying we're cutting stuff out of the bill. That's it. The centrists have won. The establishment has won. We're going to give them what they want. We're going to cut things that are important out of this bill, even though we could literally pass it immediately. We don't have to rely on Republicans. This is a reconciliation bill, but no, we're going to give them to corporate donors, as always. So now, the original Build Back Better outline included hundreds of billions of dollars for parent benefits, childcare, universal pre-K, housing, green infrastructure, the expansion of Medicare and Medicaid, negotiations with pharmaceutical companies between Medicare and the pharma industry to bring down prices, and I don't know what they're going to drop. I have my thoughts on that, but Pelosi suggested that the family policies would be a priority, and Democrats have always said that a continuation of the monthly child tax payments to parents, which are scheduled to stop after December, will be the cornerstone. So they're going to do the child care stuff, which is okay, it's good, but they're going to drop a lot of other stuff. Now, Pelosi defended her position during a Tuesday press conference, saying that we feel real bad. We're just not going to be able to get to $3.5 trillion. In fact, here's part of that.
We have some important decisions to make in the next few days so that we can proceed. I'm very disappointed that we're not going with the original $3.5 trillion, which was very transformative. But in the whatever we do, we'll make decisions that will continue to be transformative about women in the workplace. So transformed because of childcare and universal pre-K, which sort of go together, the child tax credit, home health care workers. Men benefit too, but largely women, and women are those caregivers as well. So not only to free up women to go into the workplace for their own professions and interest, but also to recognize the work that women do in providing that health care, issues that relate to family and medical leave and the rest. I'm pretty excited about the prospect that we have to make some difficult decisions, of course, because we had fewer resources, but nonetheless, no diminishing of our commitment to a transformative agenda for the children.
I'm excited at the prospect of making difficult decisions. What? Okay, did anyone understand what she was saying? The only thing that I understood is we're not getting $3.5 trillion because we're just not going to. Now, here's the thing. $3.5 trillion was the compromise. It was originally $6 trillion. Negotiated down to $3.5, and now being negotiated down further, and it's disastrous. Disastrous. So now, the question, of course, is why would you need to, since you don't need Republicans, the Republicans were always going to vote against this, you only need Democrats, and you have enough Democrats. Why can't we get this done? Why can't we get this done? It's your own bill. You can easily pass it. Oh, that's right, because they're negotiating not with themselves. Understand, this is a negotiation between progressives and the donors. Nancy Pelosi and the donors. And of course, the donors are going to generally get most, if not all, of what they want. And so the donors this time used, they picked from a rotating cast of villains. In this case, they got Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, both gigantic recipients of gigantic amounts of campaign cash or bribes, legalized bribes, in order to try to tank this bill, which they don't like because it actually has provisions that would help the American people and not corporations. So now, in that same press conference, Pelosi was also asked by a reporter about the messaging. Take a look at that.
Only about 10% of Americans describe themselves as knowing a lot of specific things that are in the reconciliation package, and that the majority don't know anything at all. So do you think you need to do a better job at messaging, and going forward, how do you sell this if ultimately you have to?
Well, I think you all could do a better job of selling it, to be very frank with you, because every time I come here, I go through the list. Family and medical leave, climate, the issues that are in there. But it is true, it is hard to break through when you have such a comprehensive package. But as we narrow it down and put it out there, I think that it will. For example, one of the things in the bill is the continuation of the Biden tax credit, that is child tax credit, that is in the was in the rescue package. That has great appeal. Do people know where it springs from? No. But it is a vast bill. It has a lot in it, and we'll have to continue to make sure the public does. But whether they know it or not, they overwhelmingly support it.
Now, look, I'm not the only one who's noticed that the Speaker of the House is not great at speaking. That's ironic because that's literally her job. It's her title, Speaker of the House. But on her overall point here, okay, no, it's not the media's job to sell the Democrats' agenda. Are you kidding me? No, it's the job of the Democrats. I hate to say it, but James Carville, somebody who I do not have much love for, James Carville is making the same point. He's like, no, that's not the media's job to sell our agenda. That's our agenda. Why don't we sell it? Democrats, sell the agenda. Go out and tell people about it. That's not the media's job. The media has its own role in reporting and analysis, of course, right? But we're not supposed to play, cheerleader for your bill. That's your bill. That's literally your job. And in a way, she actually inadvertently basically exposed the media for caping for politicians and certain parties, which is disastrous. It means that we don't have a free and fair media. Think about it this way. Think about the scandal, right? Fox News during the Trump administration was essentially Republican state TV, okay? And openly pushed Trump's agenda. That's not what the media is supposed to do. For Democrats, for Republicans, for anybody, they're not supposed to push your agenda. You're supposed to push your agenda. You're supposed to go on the shows. You're supposed to do the messaging. That's literally your fucking job. Do your fucking job, Nancy, and go out and be the speaker. Oh, right, she can't because she can barely talk. She can barely make any sense. Why do we have a speaker that can't speak? That can't even fucking talk? This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And look, as far as my opinion goes, I like a lot of the stuff that's in the Build Back Better plan. Now, of course, I always think that we should go further. As progressives, we should always continue to push for more and for better plans, more universal plans, etc., right? And the American people, they agree with a lot of the stuff that's in the Build Back Better plan, okay? Now, the problem is, of course, the donors do not want what's in this plan. Now, notice how Pelosi had focused on child care. Now, look, child care, good. Child tax credit, good. Now, they're going to keep all that stuff because that's kind of her pet. That's kind of her focus. And again, fine. That's great. That's going to be beneficial to a lot of people. But the problem is what they're going to drop. And I have a bad feeling that they're going to drop the stuff related to Medicare. okay? Especially allowing them to negotiate drug prices with pharmaceutical companies. That's the biggest thing that I think they're going to drop. Now, that would be actually one of the most transformative and popular things that they could do, is lower the price of prescription drugs. 83% of the American people support allowing Medicare to negotiate prescription drugs. Even when they're presented with both arguments, you know, the pharmaceutical company argument that, oh, it's gonna reduce, you know, our ability to do research and development. The American people, when they're presented with that argument, are like, no, that's bullshit. Come on, we know you already have enough money. You're literally one of the richest, wealthiest industries on the planet. You can afford to lower the price of drugs just a little bit. You can afford to let us, you know, allow us to buy our insulin without going broke. So no, they're not buying that at all. And so it's incredibly popular, but, and it's been incredibly popular. Again, Trump talked about it. Biden talked about it. This has been actually one of the most important issues for voters in a lot of these past elections. And so, I mean, it's ridiculous, the fact that we can't get this done. And we know why we can't get it done, because the pharmaceutical industry buys off politicians from both sides. And that's it. That's the problem. The money from big pharma. So now, that aside, right? So we know we're going to drop, they're probably going to drop some of those things. And, you know, some of those very, very important expansions that are going to help a lot of people, but will affect their donors, okay? But the other claim here, the claim from centrists, is that, well, we've got to, because it's too much. Oh, it's too much. $350 billion for the next 10 years is $3.5 trillion. We just can't afford that. We just can't afford it. Well, okay, it's bullshit. But progressives, they decided to say, okay, you know what? Say you're right. Okay, why don't we just make it, instead of for 10 years, for 6, and bring down that cost? You say you want to do $2.1 trillion. Okay, we'll play your game. Just do all the stuff, pass all the stuff that's in the bill already, but only make it for 6 years instead of 10. In fact, this is that's what Representative Pramila Jayapal is saying at a press conference on Tuesday. She told reporters that if we need to cut some of them back to a fewer number of years, we'd be willing to do that. Why is that? Because we are not going to pit childcare against climate change. We're not going to pit housing against paid leave. We're not going to pit seniors against young people. So again, the strategy makes sense because overall, the bill will be technically cheaper because it's for less years. So you compare the cost down to $2.1 trillion pretty easily by just making it last 6 years, and then you got to reauthorize it. And of course, with these things that are incredibly popular, well, if you don't reauthorize it, there's going to be a lot of angry people. So, and that's the important thing. Once you get these programs into place and people like them, it makes them really difficult to get rid of. And that's what the corporate donors, that's what Republicans don't want to happen. They want to make sure that people don't get used to having cheaper prices for prescription drugs, don't have, 2 years of free community college, don't have childcare, don't have any of those nice things, housing assistance, etc., so they can save a few bucks. Because ultimately, these corporations do not want to pay more in taxes. So, but yes, if Joe Manchin on the cost, if he's so worried about cost, well, there you go. They've got it. You solved it. In fact, Jayapal told HuffPost last week, reducing the number of years that the benefits are funded, making sure it's funded as quickly as possible, and that the benefits are universal as possible, we think is critically important. Ro Khanna said pretty much the same thing. What I've heard overwhelmingly from the Progressive Caucus is that they want to make sure that we aren't cutting programs. Now, there's one exception to this that they said, and I don't mean by cutting programs, because again, they don't want to cut any programs, but reducing the length that the program happens. So now they were actually against doing that for climate change. They wanted that to be funded for the full 10 years. And Jayapal said that reducing the duration of those measures could make it difficult for energy markets to properly adjust to those changes. All right, so that makes sense. So, great, let's do that. Problem solved. If the cost is the problem, well, we've got the solution. Especially since Sinema and Manchin literally have not come out and said, we think this part is the problem. We don't like this policy. You should drop this policy. All Manchin was doing was, oh, I just think it's too expensive. And Sinema does little cutesy games like, oh, I'm in the Senate. Oh, I'm in the elevator. And then runs away literally from her constituents to go run marathons after hurting your foot or whatever. Just dodging people like Neo from the Matrix. Dodging her constituents, not answering phone calls, not holding town halls in over 3 years. I mean, we know what she's doing, okay? But again, they can't say what they're up against because everything that's in there is incredibly popular. And they would have to come out on the record and say, well, I'm against, hearing aids for people on Medicare. Well, you would get destroyed. And so they can't. They can't. Now, again, I mentioned that they're part of the rotating cast of villains, right? So the real reason, as I said before, that Pelosi is now coming out and saying we're willing to cut programs is because the donors. Now, the new Democrat coalition, which again is funded primarily by the Chamber of Commerce, different corporate donors, pharmaceutical companies, she says that the speaker aligns with their views on the reconciliation bill, which in their words is an extremely slimmed down bill that would extend some version of the expanded child tax credit, fund the Affordable Care Act premium subsidies, and pass provisions to address climate change, which means no Medicare expansion, no reduction in drug prices, no or very limited free college, some of the most transformative stuff that's in there, they don't want because it would take a tiny bit amount away from their donors. Those same donors that Pelosi, Manchin, Sinema, and the rest of the corporate Democrats work for. That's it. Disastrous. All right. Let's have some fun. Charlie Kirk recently got clowned in a debate, and it was awesome. Take a look.
Do you truly, in your heart of hearts, truly believe that this is a human being? This?
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt?
Yes.
This is a dolphin fetus.
So let me...
Without a doubt, a dolphin fetus is a human being. This is a human fetus. Look how similar they are. But quite different. Dolphin. You just confirmed that a dolphin... In life, you confuse dolphins for human babies often.
So let me
you
ask
go to SeaWorld and you're like, someone's got human babies in that aquarium.
Okay. Well done. Well done. Great touch. So I actually didn't know who Ben Glebe was before. And to be fair, I think I'm a fan. That's pretty good. I love it. So now I looked further into this. And, to be a little bit more fair to Charlie Kirk, because I'm the most, fair man in America, and to see, if there was any more context, right? Well, there was context, but none of that really helped Charlie Kirk look any better. In fact, he ended up actually looking worse. Take a look.
This is a human fetus. Look how similar they look, but quite different. Dolphin. You just confirmed that a dolphin... In life, do you confuse dolphins for human babies often?
So let me
you
ask
go to SeaWorld and you're like, someone's got human babies in that aquarium. Get the human babies out of the aquarium.
Well, you labeled it as a human fetus.
No,
so
I
you
did not.
That dishonestly.
No, I did not. I didn't label it as anything.
Let me
say human fetus on there.
Let me ask you a question though. So let's hold up those two pictures again.
Sure.
Is there a moral difference between the dolphin and the baby?
At this stage, no.
No,
You just confirmed that.
Let me ask you, a human and a dolphin, is it okay to kill one and not the other? Is there a difference morally between a human and a dolphin?
I don't like to kill dolphins, but when they're
do you like to kill babies?
No, I don't. And when they're living, I certainly am not in favor of killing either, but obviously I protect a human over a dolphin.
Hold up the human one.
Sure.
Is that not alive?
No, it is not alive.
Then how is it able to have a heartbeat?
It's attached to an alive being called a woman.
Wait,
who is the mother.
Doesn't have a heartbeat, does it?
No, it doesn't have a true heartbeat.
Oh, yes, it does.
At some point it does.
22 days after conception, the child's heart begins to circulate. Not alive?
That is also disputed science and not correct.
At just 6 weeks.
All right, so I love the attempt on gaslighting. Oh, you were dishonest. You labeled that as a human. You saw the images. There were two labels, head and tails. And yes, they looked remarkably similar. And yet Charlie Kirk's like, without a doubt, human being. Wrong, not a human being. Again, but he believed it. He believed it because he's not a smart person. So now look, that is a fetus, but he believes fetuses are human beings, believes that embryos are human beings, and Glebe correctly points out that no, it's not a fully grown human being. That's incredibly obvious. And at that point in the development, now it'll eventually grow into a human being, but at that point, it is dependent on the mother's body to survive. It'll eventually develop into a baby, and once it gets to the point where it's viable, then it's an independent life, then it has its rights. Not before then. So now, viability, of course, means it's not dependent on the mother's blood supply, nutrients, or body for it to survive. It can survive outside the womb. These are very simple concepts, and yet he does not understand these things. So now, what's interesting here, I just want to point out, there are some pretty horrendous things that happen to a woman's body during pregnancy. These things make me very glad to be a male. That developing fetus will literally snatch the calcium from a woman's bones. If there's not enough calcium, it'll take it from your bones. I mean, it takes her blood, shifts her organs around, because it's got to grow somewhere. And of course, the act of childbirth, the birth itself, the stretching, the tearing, all that stuff, disastrous. That's horrifying. Now, all those things are exactly why it should be a choice, plus the fact that, of course, that it is dependent on your body. And not only that, but also it could kill you. The act of being pregnant, carrying a child, giving birth, etc., can literally kill you. And it happens, especially in America, still. In fact, among the 11 developed countries, the U.S. actually has the highest maternal mortality rate, and it is especially high for women of color. Now, the United States also has a relative undersupply of maternity care providers and no guaranteed access to provider home visits or paid parental leave, the postpartum period, which of course is what the Democrats are actually trying to push for, and this is all according to a recent report from the Commonwealth Fund. Now, Charlie Kirk, he is against that stuff. He's against helping the babies once they're actually born. And so there's another part of the video here where Glebe gets into that, and it's fantastic. Take a look.
We have some of the lowest childbirth mortality rates in the world, thankfully.
No, we do not. We have some of the highest. We have some of the highest. United States infant mortality rate places us 16th among the nations of the world.
How many nations
Thousands
are there,
of infants die each year because of inadequate medical care that you often vote against and don't support.
I'm not elected official.
You support things and you have the influence of millions. You don't have a vote? Are you suppressing your own vote now too, or just others?
Are you saying that I vote in Congress?
I'm saying that you vote in elections and you decide who goes to Congress, do you not? And do you not support bills or not support bills based on your massive influence?
I know
think you do.
You're getting really worked up.
No, I'm not.
So let me ask you a question.
Also, we rank 33 out of 36 in the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development Nations, OECD nations, ranked by U.S. News and World Report for prenatal and early childhood care, that you often do not support. In fact, recently, when Biden suggested just $225 billion to support children more in the early years of their lives, you went against it and said, oh, capping it while theoretically, you paid empty lip service to it and said, well, theoretically it's a good idea. $225 billion is so expensive, and it caps the amount they can spend on their children at 7% of income a year. And by doing that, there's no incentives then for them to seek cost-effective care. When you had no problem with Donald Trump spending $8 trillion, giving trillions and trillions of tax cuts to millionaires and billionaires, and raising the national debt to $27 trillion.
Can I be
no
honest,
issue
Leslie?
with that. But helping the kids that you care about so much, the babies you care about so much, that you want to force women to give birth to them, and then they can go f themselves once they're born because you don't give a shit and you vote against it constantly. Bravo!
Can I be
What a
honest?
hill to die on.
Fucking wrecked. Oh, I loved it. So I look, honestly, I don't think I can add too much to that because that was brilliant. Again, they love the babies so much that, well, you know, we'll vote against childcare. We're going to vote against food stamps. Take that, babies. We love you though. We just love to make women have, give birth, and then screw you. That's it. You're on your own. Now, it's also interesting that Republicans will support the massive military-industrial complex that literally kills millions of people across the world, including a large number of children. Not only that, but they support the death penalty, the literal death penalty, but then claim that they're pro-life. No, it's not about, understand, it's not about control. It's not about being pro-life, it's about control. Not about life at all, Not about freedom. No. So, Charlie Kirk, absolutely punked. Well done, Ben. Absolutely masterful takedown of all this guy's absolutely ridiculous points. Ben Glebe came with the receipts. He absolutely did. Absolutely did. Get wrecked, Kirk. Ben is amazing. Agreed. RC Tycoon. Yeah, I know. I need to pay a little bit more attention to the chat today. I just had a lot of stuff to get through. Don't worry, we got more stories. We got Fox News versus cows. Kind of. Let's see. He's awesome. He did one about that restaurant that wouldn't let you wear masks. Oh, I'm gonna have to watch that. That's awesome. Because I remember talking about the restaurant that wouldn't let you wear masks in it. That made my day. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Appreciate that. Let's see some of the other comments here. Lefties around the world need to unite and work together like the right does. We can coordinate with each other about tactics and everything else. For example, Amazon is having a union startup here, and workers around the world can strike at the same time to hurt Amazon, things like that. Yeah. Hey, all those are pretty good ideas. I would love to see a lot more solidarity on the left. Absolutely. Because right now, we on the left are a bit of a circular firing squad, unfortunately. And I think some of that might be driven by profit. But that's just my opinion here. Unfortunately, I don't have a thing, tea to drink right now. I'm not. But all right. Anyway, let's go to Fox News versus the cows. Actually, before I do that, I got a couple of super chats that I didn't get to read yesterday. So let me do that. Cody Beck says Ivanka has neither grace nor intelligence to serve as Jarvanka's charismatic front. Just imagine Princess Diana at the G20 summit. That was from yesterday that I didn't get to. Let's see. Dango Bangle, with a couple of them, says the contempt Pelosi has for the lower class, along with supporting key aspects of her fascism, what makes me believe that she's a goddamn crypto-fash. Interesting. Let's see. I bet you they drop everything in the case of the MAGA rioter. And